Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If becoming a mangaka in One Piece world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 871, Whitebeard enjoys the world of the game. Rob looked at the surface of the floating blue planet resting on the altar in the middle of the black room with a smile. The surface of the blue planet shimmered with a strange glow, indicating that it was brimming with players. This glow reflected the continuous development of the game world, as players' levels increased across their respective timelines. This world contained millions of layers stacked upon one another, each layer representing the timeline of a specific player. This was the story's setting. When I open the online mode, it'll be even more interesting, Rob said with a smile. The online mode was still under development at this stage. Although most bugs had been fixed, its official release wasn't far off. Rob planned to launch it after the next arc of One Piece. Well, since everyone's enjoying the game, let's continue drawing the manga, Rob muttered as he left the black room. Behind him, 1,000 full capsules remained as he returned to his personal office. Outside the black room, the store goddesses lined up among players waiting their turn to return to their individual stories within the game world. This was the current lifestyle, 1 hour of play each day, which equated to a year inside the game world. In his office, Rob snapped his fingers, conjuring a blank paper folder in his hand. Time to draw. Rob had always enjoyed drawing manga manually. Though he could now manifest pages directly out of thin air using his abilities, he still preferred doing it the traditional way. For him, this was also a lifestyle. While reading chapters brought readers joy, drawing those chapters was his own source of happiness. A pen appeared in his hand and began gliding smoothly across the pages. Since he started, he hadn't made a single mistake. His artistic abilities had reached an unimaginable level of creativity. At this point, drawing felt as natural as breathing. He had already surpassed the high-level drawing talent gifted to him by the Divine Network when he first arrived in this world. His current drawing skill could now be classified as a god-tier innate talent. Soon, Luffy appeared on the manga page, retrieving his straw hat and shaking off the accumulated snow. Return to Sabaody arc, finally. This highly anticipated arc is here. Rob was extremely happy to draw this particular arc because it marked the true beginning of the Straw Hat Crew's dominance. They're no longer weak. Rob smiled as he continued drawing the pages with incredible fluidity, depicting every event in perfect detail. With the help of Olive, the artificial intelligence organizing his collected thoughts in his memory palace for this arc, recreating it on the pages was effortless and error-free. Far away from Ohara, while Rob was busy drawing the new One Piece arc, the Blackbeard pirates were seeking an opportunity to enter the art store on Skypiea. This episode of Naruto Shippuden finally ended. It was long as hell. When will these people leave? Teach was highly frustrated at the sight of so many people still entering the art store on Angel Island, with only a few leaving. With such a massive crowd, I'm afraid it won't be our turn to return to the game world today. Should we head to the nearby art store in Shandora? Or maybe Burka instead? Shiryu said coldly, equally annoyed and frustrated. No, I bet the same thing is happening at all the other art stores worldwide. The popularity of the game world has skyrocketed. Rob truly is an incredible person for creating another world similar to ours. Challenging someone like him is impossible, zihahaha. But isn't challenging such a person the most exciting thing? Why not dream about it? After all, people's dreams never end. Say ha ha ha. Teach laughed maniacally. Despite how unrealistic his dreams seemed, his boundless madness drove him to imagine such ambitions. Captain, what should we do? Our levels in the game world are so low compared to even ordinary people. All because we couldn't show ourselves publicly. Katarina Devon spoke with a dejected expression. No problem. With our abilities, we can easily make up for this gap. We just need to secure a foothold in one art store and keep entering the game world daily without fearing our enemies chasing us. That's why we came here, far away, to Skypiea. Now, put on your cloaks and follow me. Hide your identities well. We don't want to be exposed right after arriving here. As Teach instructed, his crew complied. They walked toward the crowded gates of the art store, waiting for their turn to participate in the game world that day. It was challenging but not impossible. After all, this wasn't their first time entering the game world. Inside the game world, specifically on Eni's lobby, Whitebeard had just disembarked from the sea train as a criminal captured by Cypher Pole and brought to the island. Captain Spandam, this man is the notorious pirate Whitebeard. He dares to call himself Whitebeard without fear of the real Whitebeard. But he's truly strong. His current bounty is 250 million berries, marking him as a new supernova. CP9 leader Rob Lucci spoke with a serious expression as he firmly restrained Whitebeard, not allowing him to budge. Oh, so this is Whitebeard, the rising star of this half of the sea. Who would have thought he'd be stupid enough to seek trouble in Water 7? Spandam said with a smug expression. He had personally ordered all CP9 agents stationed in Water 7 to handle Whitebeard and capture him. This, of course, came from higher-ups, the 5 elders, who saw the young man calling himself Whitebeard as a potential threat. He resembled the real Whitebeard in his youth, making it dangerous to let him grow stronger. Hence, the 5 elders instructed Spandam to use all his resources to capture him. And that's exactly what happened, or so they thought. Oh. Garararara. Who would have thought my brilliant plan would actually work? In the next moment, Whitebeard escaped Lucci's grip and launched a finger pistol directly at Spandam's throat, who wasn't far from him. I've always wanted to do this while reading the Eni's lobby arc. Garararara. Whitebeard withdrew his finger, causing blood to spurt as Spandam's eyes widened in shock. He hadn't expected to die after completing his mission. Oh no! The captain is dead. You fool! What have you done? Immediately, Rob Lucci transformed into his leopard form and viciously attacked Whitebeard, who had just escaped his grasp and killed Spandam. You scum! You pretended to be weak. Your goal from the start was to kill him. You've doomed yourself. Die. Rob Lucci didn't care about Spandam's life or death, but witnessing him die without being able to save him was an unerasable stain on his record. This all happened so fast that the rest of CP9 had only just processed what occurred. By then, the battle between Rob Lucci and Whitebeard had already begun. Boom! Boom! Garararara! I love this game. I love this game. Whitebeard, now at level 34, was exhilarated in this moment. The joy of leveling up and battling stronger characters was indescribable. This must have been how Luffy felt while fighting Rob Lucci, whose level at this moment was terrifying. Lucci, as an NPC, was level 41. Chapter 872, Shamrock's First Memory. Inside the game world, the battle in Eni's lobby erupted with unprecedented intensity. Rob Lucci, in his leopard transformation amplifying his strength and speed far beyond his boss-level NPC parameters for this story mode, unleashed lethal strikes at the player Whitebeard. Yet despite his comparatively lower level, Whitebeard fought with unmatched frenzy and delight, a reflection of his real-world persona, especially when clashing with rivals like Roger or opponents of similar caliber. Of course, Rob Lucci wasn't on that level in reality, but within the game, the dynamics shifted entirely. Boom! Walls crumbled under the force of their collisions, and the floor quaked from their violent exchanges. This was a battle of another tier. Whitebeard fought like a madman, while Lucci deployed every Rokushiki technique to bring down this audacious pirate. Audacious indeed. Whitebeard hadn't merely invoked his fearsome name, which alone struck terror into hearts strong and weak alike. He'd killed a government agent on a government island. This was an outright declaration of war, a provocation that burned all bridges of retreat. I've never seen anyone take a direct Rokugan and remain standing. Lucci shouted, incredulous at Whitebeard's endurance. Garararara! I didn't expect your strike to pack such a punch, but it's not enough to take me down. Whitebeard raised his hand,
only for nothing to happen. Ah, I forgot I'm inside the game.
He chuckled at his own lapse, momentarily mistaking this avatar for his real body. His instinct to summon his Quake fruit powers clashed with the game's limitations. Devil fruit abilities tied to his true body were mere fantasy here.
Let's test the limits of this human body, then.
Already committed, Whitebeard embraced the challenge. His muscles bulged as he channeled his strength, and his once intangible haki began to solidify.
Armament haki level up.
Ignoring the system notification, he nonetheless felt a tangible surge in power. The barrier hindering his haki mastery had shattered. As debris from the train station battlefield scattered, CP9 members who'd been observing earlier closed in, surrounding Whitebeard.
Enough!
Kaku's voice cut through the chaos as he launched razor-sharp sword strikes, forcing Whitebeard to retreat slightly.
Ha! 2 against 1? This just makes the game more fun.
Whitebeard laughed, shifting into a new combat stance.
But before the clash could resume, an alarm blared across the entire area. Alert! Emergency in Eni's lobby. All forces, prepare for reinforcements.
The Marines had caught wind of the chaos, dispatching overwhelming reinforcements. Whitebeard now faced even stronger foes.
Garararara! Time to level up further. After a relentless, chaotic battle, Whitebeard's avatar finally succumbed. Half his body was shredded by blades and bullets before Rob Lucci's final Rokugan obliterated his head. Damn, I wanted to keep going.
Whitebeard roared as his avatar vanished, returning him to the capsule in the art store. He opened his eyes with a grin. This game, the best thing in this world. Despite his brutal demise, he felt no frustration, only exhilaration.
The game offered thrilling adventures.
Solo quests, unrestricted freedom, leveling up, stealing weapons, raiding pirates, and battling elite marines, pirates, and government agents.
And this was only the first half of the Grand Line. What awaits in the new world? His excitement soared. Next time, I'll crush Rob Lucci. Eliminating him will skyrocket my level. Mihawk opened his eyes in the game world once more.
The sky stretched blue and clear above him. Seated on a massive seaside boulder, he gazed at the ocean while a vast forest sprawled behind him. Standing, he stretched and swiftly adapted to his virtual body. Drawing the colossal sword from his back, he swung it with masterful precision. Swordsmanship skill, master level. He'd earned this skill the first time he wielded a sword in-game, a cheat-like feat, but unsurprising for the world's greatest swordsman.
Even in another body, his expertise transcended limits. But in this world, Dracul Mihawk exists. A challenge to surpass myself? Not unwelcome. Sheathing his sword, he strode away. The blade was ordinary and unnamed. Great blades weren't easily found. A year to find you, Dracul Mihawk. Let's have an entertaining duel.
You've grown bored without worthy rivals.
I'll be interesting, won't I? Mihawk smirked, eyeing the going merry preparing to depart Syrup Village.
Aboard were Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and soon Usopp.
He waited patiently.
Joining them to Baratai will let me confront Hawkeye directly. Unlike other top players already forging their Grand Line tales, Mihawk lingered in his starter village, letting events unfold naturally. Yet he hadn't idled. Raiding nearby islands and slaughtering pirates had boosted him to level 25, surpassing Luffy, Zoro, and all East Blue foes.
Of course, this level is inadequate against Dracul Mihawk.
But when fighting myself, raw power won't matter.
When Usopp finally appeared, Mihawk stirred. Time to depart.
He savored the game on his own terms. Inside the art store in the midst of the land of the gods, it felt as though time had stopped at that moment, or existence materialized from nothing. As he perused the latest volume of One Piece manga, Shamrock sighed, recalling the first day he opened this book. Figureland Shamrock sat in his lavish suite inside the Figureland family's palace, leaning back on a heavenly silk sofa, his fingers idly flipping through the worn pages of the manga he had obtained secretly. After all, 5 years ago, there was no art store, and finding manga was difficult. No one in this place read such things, But his curiosity had always been stronger than the strict rules he had been raised with. One Piece. The title was simple, yet it held within it a whole world he had never known before. A world full of chaos, freedom, and adventures, everything he had been taught to hate. Yet, there was something about this story that captivated him, something he didn't understand at first, but soon found himself immersed in. Then, on one of the pages, the name Shanks appeared for the first time. His gaze stopped on the character. A man with fiery red hair, eyes filled with unwavering confidence, and a relaxed smile as if nothing in the world could disturb him. He was a pirate, and in the eyes of the nobles, a representation of chaos and decadence, yet, he was different. He moved forward through the pages and saw how Shanks entered the life of the boy Luffy, how he inspired him, how he sacrificed his arm for him, and how he gave him his famous hat. It was a strange scene for him. Why would a pirate do such a noble act? Why did it seem like he carried an honor that surpassed even some nobles? He began to feel uneasy. There was a strange feeling inside him, as if something was whispering to him from the depths of his memories, but he couldn't quite grasp it. As the days, months, and years passed, the art story emerged, and it became easier to read manga. The more he progressed through the manga, the more his admiration for Shanks grew, despite everything. He was not just a pirate. He was someone of weight in the world, someone who had influenced many great people, even becoming an emperor among pirates. His mere presence was enough to shake the seas, and his name instilled fear even among the fiercest enemies. Why is Sengoku so respectful toward him? He stopped the war because of him, even though the Marines have the upper hand now? But what amazed him most was Shanks' influence on people. He was not just a strong leader. He was a man whose word was respected, even by his enemies. A man whose crew followed him loyally, not out of fear but out of respect and love. He was different from the image the nobles painted of pirates, completely different from the rules he had learned since childhood. At some point, Shamrock felt a pang in his chest. Why did he feel this strong connection to this character? Why was there something deep within him that made him want to know more? Why did he feel as though he knew this man without having ever seen him before? In a moment, he glimpsed his reflection in the nearby mirror. His silky red hair, sharp eyes, noble features, then he looked back at the image of Shanks. He couldn't ignore the resemblance. It was ridiculous. There could be no connection between them. Shamrock had grown up here, in Marigoa, while Shanks was born in the depths, in chaos, in the world below. There could be no link between them, impossible, right? And yet, he couldn't deny that the manga had stirred something within him that he had never felt before. A strange feeling, as if there was a part of his past yet to be revealed. He put the manga aside, but his mind couldn't let go of the thought. Who was Shanks really? And why did it feel like he was looking into a mirror of a reality he had never lived? What's wrong, Shamrock? Why are you absent-minded again? At that moment, the voice of the supreme commander of the God's Knights rang out. Shamrock opened his eyes. He was sitting among the God's Knights, but the most prominent figure was their leader, Figureland Garling. Chapter 873, Player Mihawk vs. the Shichibukai Mihawk. In the heart of the art store, where imagination meets reality, Figureland Shamrock sat lost in thought, scattered manga pages strewn across his hands. Though manga day was still far off, the art store had already become the prime gathering spot for celestial dragons. The Holy Knights, higher-tier celestial dragons, were warriors among their kind. The voice of their leader, Garling, snapped Shamrock back to the present, but his mind remained entangled in questions that had plagued him lately. Slowly lifting his head, he met Garling's gaze. A man embodying the unyielding authority of the Holy Knights, his presence suffocating any hint of rebellion. Garling was his father, yet here, their familial bond held no relevance. Still, Shamrock felt no fear as he once had. Something within him had shifted. Nothing, sir. Just thinking. Garling was his father, but sir was the norm, a habit long ingrained. Garling studied his face for a moment, then chuckled coldly. Thinking? Unusual for you. You're unsettled. Shamrock's chest tightened. Yes, he had always been obedient, never questioning the system he was raised in.
But now, uncertainty gnawed at him. That manga, that pirate, that name which should have meant nothing. Why did it stir such turmoil?
Garling rose, turning to address the other knights with stern resolve.
We have an upcoming mission.
The world needs reminding of our true standing.
Shamrock looked up, locking eyes with Garling but offering no reply.
Inside, a desire clawed against everything he'd been taught, a hunger for truth.
He's hiding something about Shanks. He knows. That night, Shamrock returned to his quarters in the Figureland estate and reopened the manga. His fingers traced the image of Shanks, lingering on every detail. Could he be?
He refused to finish the question.
To do so would mean committing to seeking answers. Of course, answers weren't hard to find.
Every celestial dragon who crossed paths with Shamrock mistook him for Shanks. With his long hair and younger age, compared to Shanks in the manga's timeline, he was nearly Shanks' double.
The current Shanks is part of Roger's crew.
Shamrock had his suspicions, but confirmation lay with his father, who refused to acknowledge anything.
If my father won't confirm Shanks' ties to the Figurelands, the manga will one day. Fine. I'll wait. With that, Shamrock set aside his thoughts and let things lie. Tomorrow, I'll log into the game world for some fun. A battle against Mihawk there might not be a bad idea.
Smiling faintly, he closed his eyes and drifted into sleep. Meanwhile, on O'Hara, Mihawk grimaced as he recalled his in-game battle against his counterpart.
I didn't expect the gap in strength to be so vast. I didn't last 5 rounds. Does this make me like Zoro? His mind flashed back to the events within the game world. In the Baratai restaurant courtyard, sunlight cast long shadows over the wooden deck.
Zoro stood frozen, staring at the man who represented the pinnacle of his ambitions, Dracula Mihawk, calm as the sea before a storm. Pirates murmured in the background, anticipation thick, while player Mihawk watched silently among the straw hats. This was the iconic moment from the manga Zoro's humbling awakening. But for Mihawk, a manga reader in the real world, this scene had become a relentless meme, a dagger to his pride for years. When Dracula Mihawk drew his tiny dagger, player Mihawk's hand trembled.
This wasn't just a scene, it was reality, dragging him back to every taunt he'd endured.
Ridiculous.
He muttered, watching Zoro charge recklessly only to be effortlessly parried. Rage simmered within him. This wasn't mere annoyance, it was injustice.
True strength deserved respect, no matter the disparity. As Zoro fell to his knees, player Mihawk stepped forward. Though Zoro's defeat was necessary for his growth, here, in this game, it was his story mode, not Zoro's.
He strode into the arena, standing between Zoro and Dracula Mihawk.
All eyes turned to him, including Dracula Mihawk's, who raised an intrigued brow.
"Who are you?" asked Dracula Mihawk. Player Mihawk met his gaze unflinchingly. "Your next opponent." Silence. Then, a faint smirk curled Dracula Mihawk's lips. How rare, for someone to say that.
Player Mihawk drew his sword, less illustrious than the Black Blade Yoru, but heavy with resolve.
I'm not here to lose. Not to be humiliated like Zoro.
I'm here to see if I can surpass myself. His grip tightened, heart pounding with long-absent fervor. Today, he wasn't just a spectator, he was part of the story. Today, he'd face his greatest foe, himself.
Surpass yourself? Interesting. Dracula Mihawk's focus shifted entirely, ignoring Zoro's burning resolve. Stay out of this.
Zoro yelled, but player Mihawk ignored him, blade raised. The two Mihawks locked eyes, one blazing with challenge, the other serene atop his pinnacle.
The air crackled.
Even Luffy, usually indifferent, watched intently, pitying Zoro slightly.
Dracula Mihawk stepped forward, a barely perceptible movement.
Player Mihawk mirrored him, sword at the ready. This wasn't just a fight, it was a clash between dream and reality. Player Mihawk lunged with blinding speed, aiming a lateral strike.
Clang! Yoru intercepted effortlessly, a flick of the wrist deflecting the blow.
Player Mihawk spun, leaping for an overhead strike, but Dracula Mihawk didn't budge. Yoru rose again, parrying and shoving him back with staggering force. Undeterred, Player Mihawk feinted low, aiming for his legs. But Dracula Mihawk vanished.
What? In a blink, he reappeared behind Player Mihawk. No tricks, just impeccable timing.
Player Mihawk whirled, but too late. Yoru slashed downward.
Crash!
He skidded backward, arms numb from the impact.
The gap was undeniable.
Dracula Mihawk struck again, a simple, flawless horizontal slash. Player Mihawk's sword flew from his grip, embedding itself in the deck.
He'd lost. In 5 moves. You're still young. Dracula Mihawk sheathed Yoru, indifference etched in his tone.
Player Mihawk stared at his empty hands, then at his foe.
Total defeat.
Yet amid the stunned silence, he felt excitement. For the first time, he faced a true mountain to climb.
5, just 5 moves.
He grinned at Dracula Mihawk.
But next time, I'll make you need 6.
Blood sprayed from his neck as the world darkened.
Unfortunately, there won't be a next time. You died. Game over.
Those were Mihawk's final sights.
Chapter 874, Fishman Island Saga, Return to Sabaody Arc. Part 1.
The days continued to rush by, and at last, the awaited day arrived. In Marigoa, Emu sat on her empty throne with her legs crossed. Her royal black cloak draped down, failing to conceal the long, elegant lines of her legs.
Emu opened the manga volume, which seemed smaller than usual, with an interested expression.
After all, the previous volume hadn't satisfied her curiosity. It felt like the Brindy World arc was just filler, and the real story was this very arc. Could it be because Luffy was still in the middle of his 2-year training? Emu wondered to justify her feeling. However, after that, she focused on the first page. There was no chapter title, only the famous straw hat, covered in snow. The same last scene from the previous arc, Emu whispered calmly. In the manga world, snow was falling on the island of Luscana, a wild island located north of the island of Women, not far away. Luffy stood with a smile, staring at the straw hat that had been waiting for 2 years.
Luffy!
A female voice called out to him, urging him to hurry.
Yeah, I'm coming. Luffy responded quickly.
2 years had already passed since the Summit War, where the Marines and the Shichibukai faced off against the Whitebeard pirates. That sure was quick. Luffy grabbed his hat and shook off the accumulated snow.
It's been 2 years already, huh?
He said, turning around to where the massive beasts that had accompanied him during his training stood. A giant gorilla, a giant crocodile, a giant lion, and a smaller tiger. The ship is ready to sail.
We can leave whenever you like. Margaret informed Luffy. All right. Thanks. Worry not, Luffy.
I've made sure the ship is stocked with all of your favorite foods. Qualities like these prove I will surely make a wonderful wife. As usual, Hancock was lost in her dreams, but Luffy was quick to refuse.
I'm not marrying you. Thanks for the food. Ah. So cruel, yet so divine.
It seemed Hancock didn't take his rejection to heart at all. She added, after a moment. Since Rayleigh left half a year ago, I'm sure he's already at Sabaody, waiting for you impatiently. I picked up all the basics in just a year and a half, after all. Well, I guess this is goodbye to you guys in this place, Luffy said, speaking to his fellow beasts. At that moment, Luffy placed the straw hat back on his head after 2 years. Hey! Luffy glared at the beasts, who started to sweat. Look harder. These are my friends. He gestured towards the Kuja pirates. Aha! Wow! Looks like you're the undisputed boss of this island, Sandersonia said cheerfully, watching the scene unfold. Yeah, but since I've made friends with these guys, I haven't been able to eat any of them. Kinda sucks. They look pretty tasty, too. Luffy's words made the beast sweat even more. Luffy's smile widened as he turned around, right.
Let's get going. Ha ha ha. Fun. Imo laughed in response to this opening scene, clearly pleased that Luffy had truly overcome Ace's death and regained his cheerful spirit. Are 2 years really enough to learn that much? Below the empty throne, the voice of St. Jupiter resonated in the main hall, curiosity filling his tone. He said he learned all the basics in just a year and a half, which means he's refined what he learned in the last half year. St. Nustero cleared his throat lightly as he spoke. A year and a half to learn all the basics, what an incredibly terrifying talent, St. Saturn commented, praising Luffy's ability. Luscana, should we erase it from the face of the earth? That way, Luffy won't have a perfect place to train in the future. St. Mars suggested with his eyes half closed. And will Luffy truly follow the same path as in the manga? That's impossible, for sure. St. Warcury seemed to mock Mars with his idea. Destroying future possibilities isn't a bad idea, but it's no longer necessary. Imu's calm voice rang out, causing the 5 elders to adjust their postures and sit respectfully. Let the holy knights search for dragon. The time for 0 hour is approaching. We cannot allow another Nika to be born into this world. Since Rob's appearance up until now, only now did Imu issue such an important order. She moved directly to prevent Luffy's birth in this world. But this wasn't shocking to the 5 elders. Understood, my lord. The 5 elders bowed in response, accepting the decree as a divine command. Far from Marigoa, in the art store at Ohara, the atmosphere was different. There was an electric charge in the air as customers gathered in large numbers inside the art store. The vast space within the store seemed insufficient. This increased the workload on the store's goddesses. Unfortunately, they didn't receive any help from the other store goddesses since other art stores around the world were in a similar situation. The arc of returning to the archipelago had readers already surpassing its exciting introduction. Doflamingo sat relaxed, uninterested in the commotion around him, completely detached from reality and absorbed in the manga events. Fufu, the ability to defeat a great pirate like Brindy World definitely indicates your power's progress is no small feat. Let me guess, what's the number of my counterpart among the enemies you'll defeat one after another in your future journeys? Daffy was mentally prepared for his fall at the hands of Luffy. There was no discomfort in his expression as he said this. Ha ha. I'd be happy to see that. I still remember how you laughed at me when my counterpart was defeated by Luffy in the Skypiea arc. From the side, Enel spoke sarcastically, despite his laughter. Through the character of the older brother in the manga, Luffy will surely kick his ass. This time, Rosinante spoke without any care for his brother's feelings. That sharp gaze. Look at the reaction of the beasts. He's already mastered his conqueror's haki. Isho said with a smile, watching the scene where Luffy scared the beasts on Luscana Island. That's normal. Looks like he's fully matured. Mihawk nodded with a smile. I'm more interested in seeing how Zoro developed under my counterpart's guidance. Mihawk's smile showed his true reason for his interest. Ha, will he even make it to the archipelago? I doubt it, yahohoho. Brooks' laugh echoed after hearing Zoro's name. He's definitely going to fail to make it, that's for sure. I wonder who will help him out. Perona, perhaps? Darashishishi. Even Saul joined in mercilessly mocking Zoro. It seems like this arc is moving fast. 2 years have already passed in the manga world, huh? Clover smiled, ignoring the others' comments. Things are getting closer. I wonder how the events will develop from here toward the final war. Vegapunk spoke with a curious expression. Only a few people could see more than what the eye sees in the One Piece manga. Vegapunk was one of those people. That's still a long way off. For now, all you need to do is enjoy. One Piece manga has entered a new stage. The post-2-year training arc has officially begun. Rob's voice sounded as he approached the group. Chapter 875, Fishman Island Saga, Return to Sabaody Arc. Part 2. Marine Ford. In the Fleet Admiral's office, which also served as the military meeting room, the top brass of the Marines gathered in front of a massive screen displaying the latest chapter of the One Piece manga.
Despite this, each person held a copy of the manga in their hands. This had long since become a tradition.
The atmosphere was tense, filled with anticipation, as smoke rose from Sakazuki's cigar.
He sat on a couch in the corner of the room, his gaze fixed on the screen. "So, this is the next scene," Sengoku muttered, popping a piece of popcorn into his mouth. Sitting beside him, Zephyr crossed his arms, his sharp eyes scanning the pages. "This is a historic moment," Zephyr said in a low voice as he stared at the panel where Luffy placed his hat back on his head. The very hat that had become his symbol at this stage. "The kid didn't waste his time over the past 2 years," Borsalino commented lazily while chewing gum, though his eyes remained fixed on the page with rare intensity. Sakazuki, who had been silent the entire time, spoke sternly.
"None of this matters.
Whether he's stronger or not, his fate will be the same as any other pirate, just ashes beneath the Marine's justice." Yet deep inside, his confidence in this statement had wavered long ago. The world was no longer as simple as he once believed. On the other hand, Kuzan, sitting across from him, was not entirely convinced. Unlike Sakazuki, his doubts were evident on his face and in his words.
But look at his expression.
This is not the same man who barely escaped the summit war on the brink of death. It seems he's changed a lot. You're overthinking it, Kuzan, Tsuru commented as she studied the panel. Then, with a faint smile, she added.
But I can't deny that he looks more mature now. Zephyr muttered with a frown. Luffy, will you follow in your teacher's footsteps? Will you truly become the man who shakes this world?
The teacher he was referring to was Rayleigh, of course. After all, Rayleigh had been, and still was, the second in command of the Pirate King's crew. A crew that shook the world in the manga. But in reality, Rob and his organization had overshadowed Roger and his crew's legendary feat of reaching the final island where the One Piece lay. Sorbet Kingdom, Revolutionary Army Headquarters. On the other side of the world, another meeting was taking place in a private room within the art store in Sorbet Kingdom. Most of the Revolutionary Army members had gathered there. Garp, sitting comfortably on a couch with a massive bowl of rice cakes in front of him, burst into laughter upon seeing the scene.
Boa ha ha. That boy hasn't changed one bit. Look at him, he's still trying to eat his training partners. He was referring to the Luscana beasts. Kuma, who was quietly reading in the corner, glanced up slightly, while Bonnie, sitting nearby, chewing on a piece of meat with a ravenous expression, muttered, "They do look really tasty."
Meanwhile, Dragon stood by the window, gazing at the crowded interior of the art store. He murmured in a barely audible voice. The winds are starting to shift. He still has a long way to go, but now, he's closer to the truth. As long as he remains on the right path, I can rest easy. His very existence is enough to keep the fight going in this world drowned in darkness.
Oh, isn't it exciting to see your little son becoming a global superstar? Ivankov teased, waving a fan playfully. This is not a good thing, Dragon replied seriously.
The more famous he becomes, the greater the danger surrounding him. Kuma, who had been silent the whole time, quietly murmured.
It doesn't matter.
This is the fate of a man who walks the path of freedom.
In the manga world, Sabaody Archipelago.
The air was calm, the stillness before the storm. Well, it looks like plenty of pirates who made it through the hardships of the first half of the Grand Line are gathering on this island once again. Inside a bar, men discussed the pirates who had recently made it this far. I remember 2 years ago, when the likes of Kid and Drake arrived here, that sure was a thrill. These days, the pirates of that generation are roaming the seas of the New World. And though I wouldn't say they're necessarily of the same caliber, there are a fair few over 100 million bounties hanging around here right now, too.
Some people had interesting bits of information about the pirates.
It was impossible to talk about them without mentioning those who had caused massive upheaval in the archipelago 2 years ago. Still, it sure was a surprise. After vanishing completely for 2 whole years. The Straw Hat crew, whom everybody thought was dead, suddenly showed up right here on this island.
And what's more, it looks like they're recruiting. Planning to expand their crew and head out to the New World by storm. Now, doesn't that just give you chills? Do you think I should give it a shot? Fishman Island. Already? When did the crew even reunite?
Frankie's eyes widened as he read this part in the manga, feeling like he had missed something.
It doesn't seem like they've fully gathered yet. And they're not the type to recruit people randomly. Iceberg spoke with a doubtful expression. Oh, looks like Brooke has become famous. Ta ha ha.
Tom laughed in surprise at Brooke's grand return after 2 years.
He seems to have had a good life. Look, he has so many fans. Kokoro also smiled at the scene. Ah ha ha ha. Looks like Sanji crawled out of hell. Frankie burst out laughing after seeing Sanji's reaction to being around women again. The atmosphere in the art store at Mermaid Cove was lively. After all, every fishman was eagerly awaiting the moment when the Straw Hat crew would finally arrive at Fishman Island in the manga. Seeing Luffy and the others venture into our Fishman Island, it feels like a dream. That dream is about to come true. We have to wait another month for the next arc. It's fine. We've already waited this long, what's another month? A group of fishmen chatted excitedly about the upcoming arc while reading the current one. After all, this arc marked the crew's reunion and their journey to the next island. Of course, their next destination after resuming their journey was Fishman Island. That is, if they follow the only route pirates can take to enter the New World. They decided on that route a long time ago. There's no turning back now. The alternative routes, without diving into the deep sea, are controlled by the world government, it seems. That's in the manga world. Don't forget that the real world has changed drastically compared to the manga. Traveling to the New World is no longer difficult, even for pirates. And the world government no longer controls the trade route between the two halves of the Grand Line. The most amazing thing is that Fishman Island is now connected to the Sea Train network, and also to Skyport, all under the control of the hunters. Hearing this conversation among the people, Fisher Tiger, who was not far away, smiled, as did Jimbei, who stood beside him. It seems the world has become more peaceful under that man's protection, Tiger said. Since this manga is still releasing new chapters, I suppose that means the world remains at peace, Jimbei replied with a smile. That's true. It looks like the crew members are arriving at Sabaody Archipelago one by one. They all have bad memories of this place, don't they? That means they won't stay long. Why would they? They'll probably head to Fishman Island the very same day. That's Brooke, and that's Sanji. Ha ha ha. It looks like Sanji has suffered a lot. Tiger felt pity for Sanji, whose desperation for women was even more obvious than before. After all, it seemed he had lived through hell on the Okama Island. Seeing Brooke in a much better state just makes me feel even more sorry for Sanji. Even Jimbei sighed at Sanji's situation at that moment. Chapter 876, Nami's appearance moves hearts, but political change is more important. Chapter's events. Sabaody Archipelago, Grove number 44. By the coast. It seemed as if Sanji's eye had transformed into a smart sniper, capable of detecting beautiful women from a great distance. His tongue quickly hung out, and his eyes turned into heart shapes as he screamed, "Women!" Tears of joy streamed down his face at that moment. This wondrous island. It is home to the very thing I have dreamed of, each and every day. Real, live, ladies. Well, then, I suppose this is goodbye, Sanji-kyun. Though it saddens me so. I am sure we will meet again. Seeing Sanji eagerly chasing after women, the group of Okama behind him felt heartbroken. Like hell, I'd want to. Thanks for bringing me here. Give my regards to Iva. So long, suckers. Sanji only stopped for a moment to curse them before continuing to chase after the women of his dreams. Well, he's certainly as wild as ever. I hear boys are always the most foul-mouthed towards the girls they like. Oh, I will never be able to forget him. Sanji acted as if he hadn't heard a single word they said and kept running forward without looking back. Wait for me, Nami-swan. Robin Chuan. For your beloved Sanji has returned from his exile in hell, exclaimed Sanji.
Sora gazed deeply at this manga page, her smile somewhat faint.
What's wrong?
Olivia noticed her weak smile and asked with subtle concern.
It looks like Sanji really went through hell in that place.
I feel immense pain for him, Sora said with a hint of sadness.
I understand how you feel, but aren't you happy for him now?
He's already overcome that hell, Olivia replied with a smile. He almost lost his manhood in that place, but his strong love for women prevented it. However, this love, which grew even stronger after enduring that hell, is now an obstacle for him. With this personality, no girl will truly love him.
He will always be just a friend, nothing more.
Sora sighed sorrowfully as she said that. She had always been annoyed by Sanji's wild nature around women, but deep down, she understood that this extreme nature might have many factors behind it. Sanji's past could be incredibly painful, which is why she had always supported him.
It's okay, I understand that you reject this future.
If Sanji were my child, I would reject such a future for him too, just like I rejected Robin's bitter future.
You do know that Rob only depicts the future, but that doesn't mean he allows it to happen again, right?
Saying this, Olivia bent down with a gentle smile on her face and patted little Sanji's head, who was clinging to his mother's leg with a shy expression. Usually, Sanji reserved this kind of sweet expression only for all the beautiful women around him, whom he considered his mothers. Only in the presence of his father, Rob, did his expression return to normal. Sanji was a year and a half old at this stage, barely able to stand.
He could only say the words Mama and Papa.
He was incredibly cute and lovable, just like his twin sister, Reiju. Seeing little Sanji and the grown-up Sanji in the manga, the contrast was astonishing.
He will become extremely handsome, just like his father.
Olivia smiled as she played with his hair. Of course, she wasn't saying this without reason.
After the time skip, Sanji truly became handsome.
There were many positive comments among readers about his appearance after 2 years. The hype was massive in the art store in Ohara, let alone in the other art stores scattered across the world. In another section of the art store in Ohara, where Belmere and Toki worked, they were also taking a short break to catch up on the latest manga events. Despite their constant work as the store's goddesses, they had the right to take short breaks whenever they wanted. They often used these moments to keep up with the latest manga chapters.
That's exactly what Bella was doing at this moment.
After Brook and Sanji had appeared one after another, Nami had finally made her debut. Among all the One Piece protagonists, Nami was the one Bella cared about the most, due to the unusual bond they shared.
Nami's first appearance after the time skip took place in a certain bar in Sabaody Archipelago.
Her hair has grown long.
That shine, that alluring shape. My little Nami has matured into an even more beautiful woman. A soft smile appeared on Bella's face. Nami's post-time skip appearance stirred many complex emotions within her.
Then, her forehead twitched as she heard the heated comments from the readers about Nami's new look. The more she listened, the more her anger grew. The Golden Crow was about to erupt like a solar volcano. These readers are losing control little by little.
Why are you so angry, Bella?
Fufu, after all, Nami is beloved by many people in this world. There's nothing we can do about it, the husband has mastered her design after the time skip.
Toki chuckled gently, trying to calm Belmere's rising anger. Rob is drawing the future, so there's nothing we can do.
This is simply what my little Nami will look like in the future, after all.
Bella sighed deeply, trying to calm herself down.
However, the readers' eyes widened, their breathing grew heavier, and some even started acting like Sanji upon seeing Nami's breathtaking new look. Some readers forgot to continue reading, while others ignored the dialogue bubbles entirely, focusing only on Nami's figure as she sat at the bar.
She has truly matured into an extraordinary beauty.
As expected from Nami, she still dresses incredibly provocatively.
Long hair is truly a woman's secret charm.
No, I prefer short hair. She's so beautiful, my God. The comments kept pouring in nonstop, all praising Nami's appearance after the time skip. 10,000 meters above sea level, solid white clouds capable of supporting a floating world drifted. This was Skypiea, home to the most famous art store in the Sky Islands.
Harita's eyes turned into heart shapes as he, too, witnessed Nami's post-time skip appearance. Oi, 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 oi. She's become absolutely stunning. I wonder how she developed over the past 2 years under my counterpart's guidance. Her navigation skills must have improved tremendously. After all, she trained in Weatheria, the sailor's paradise, the place every navigator in the world dreams of joining. Noteworthy indeed. In the upcoming chapters, we'll see how our Nami has grown in Weatheria. Interesting. Her breasts have gotten much bigger. Ugh. That hurts. Why did you hit me? Stop talking nonsense, damn it.
Herdas lashed out at the men who had perverted expressions at that moment. All of them were part of Weatheria's weather research team.
These men are hopeless.
Seeing this chaotic scene, Gonfal sighed and stopped paying attention to Herdas and his group, focusing instead on the manga's events.
A bunch of old perverts, Shandia Chief scoffed in annoyance as he continued reading the manga. It looks like the Marines have changed the location of their headquarters. No wonder. After all, Whitebeard destroyed their old base. Even with all those repairs, they couldn't restore it to its original state.
It's obvious that they're now focusing on the New World, where the major conflicts will take place in the future.
That's right. The first half of the Grand Line is no longer a concern.
No, there's another reason for this move. After all, Whitebeard, who ruled the New World 2 years ago, is no longer there. That's why the Marines dared to place their headquarters at the entrance to the New World this time. For Gonfal and Shandia Chief, the political and military changes were far more important than Nami's stunning beauty.
Chapter 877, Who's the New Fleet Admiral? Chapter's Events. A certain bar. Say, have you heard the news about the Marines? They've set up a new HQ. Aren't Marine headquarters in Marineford, right near the Sabaody archipelago?
Nami spoke with the bartender, who provided her with the latest information. No, it switched places with a place called G1, their former branch station, located on the opposite side of the Red Line.
Sengoku's replacement, the new fleet admiral, is showing the world he means business. I mean, they placed Marine headquarters right inside the territory of the Yonku, after all.
The bartender continued talking, and Nami kept listening. As a result, the threat this island has always felt from having HQ right alongside it has weakened quite a bit, and there are more lawless areas on Sabaody than ever before.
At that moment, Nami spoke. So that's why. I was just thinking the town seemed rougher than when I was here 2 years ago.
At Marineford, everyone's eyes were drawn to this part of the chapter, as it brought several key points to their attention.
A new headquarters. Zephyr's eyes sparkled as he pondered the matter. Sengoku's retirement, Tsuru felt a strange sense of sorrow.
A new fleet admiral, Sakazuki exhaled smoke from his cigar, deep in thought about who this person could be. Arara, so much shocking information all at once.
Kuzan's forehead wrinkled as he, too, processed the shocking details. This isn't all that surprising. Sengoku sighed as he spoke.
The relocation of the Marine headquarters, its controversial new location, or even his own retirement and replacement as fleet admiral, none of it truly shocked him.
But I'm very curious to know who my successor is.
Saying this, his gaze fell on Kuzan for some reason. He had a feeling that this man would be his choice as a successor. Before anyone else could notice his gaze on Kuzan, he quickly looked away and continued reading the next scenes of the manga.
I think the new fleet admiral could be either Sakazuki or Kuzan, Borsellino spoke at that moment with a lazy expression. Oh? Why do you think that, Borsellino? Don't you want to be the next fleet admiral? Sengoku asked curiously.
Simply because I feel that my counterpart wouldn't be interested in a power struggle.
Sengoku looked deeply at Borsellino.
He wasn't entirely convinced by the answer, but he had no choice but to accept it.
On the other hand, Sakazuki was satisfied with Borsellino's stance, but his gaze toward Kuzan held a certain coldness, as Kuzan had yet to clarify his position, unlike Borsellino. Of course, Sakazuki firmly believed that he was the new fleet admiral one way or another.
Even if Kuzan harbored ambitions for the position, he would never let it happen.
As for Sengoku's support for Kuzan, Sakazuki wasn't foolish enough not to notice. Off the coast of Ohara,
a highly renowned pirate ship rocked gently with the waves. It was the Moby Dick, the ship of the Whitebeard pirates.
Gorarara.
It looks like the Marines have finally mustered the courage to meddle in the affairs of the New World after my old counterpart passed on. Inside the art store on the ship's deck, Whitebeard laughed while reading the same scene from the manga, expressing his reaction.
So Sengoku retired. That means Garp must have retired too. Truly the end of an era.
After laughing for a while, Whitebeard stopped, contemplating the future described in the manga.
So, this is the future. One generation follows another.
The previous one must inevitably step aside with regret. I've heard that Ace has already been born and raised for a year.
The new generation is beginning to emerge in this world.
Whitebeard had set sail across the 4 seas for 2 main reasons. The first was to stop by Ohara to retrieve his son, Weevil, who had been on the island for 2 years under Rob's care, ensuring he grew up healthy.
The second was to visit Batarilla, an island in the South Blue, to see Ace.
Their arrival in Ohara coincided with the release of the new One Piece volume.
I wonder who the new fleet admiral might be. Marco mused with curiosity.
Even though he had no real interest in the Marines and their leadership, that didn't mean he wasn't intrigued by the changes in the manga. After all, this was a major shift that would affect the entire world within the story.
If not Akainu, then who else? In terms of strength, he's certainly qualified for the position. However, his extreme personality might make Sengoku reconsider.
But if he can defeat Sengoku's chosen successor, then not even his radical nature will prevent him from taking the seat of Fleet Admiral. Whitebeard spoke with absolute conviction. Even though he despised Akainu and wished he could tear him apart, that didn't mean he wouldn't acknowledge the man's strength. As a manga character, Akainu was far more terrifying than the real-life Akainu, who was still quite different from his fictional counterpart. Even though their strength was comparable.
Due to a secret admiral strengthening project implemented years ago by Imu, the vast difference in mentality, separated by 2 full decades, could not be bridged. South Blue, Batarilla Island.
Under the clear blue sky, the gentle autumn breeze caressed the faces of a happy family at that moment. In an incredibly heartwarming scene, within the garden of a simple home, Rouge and Roger sat watching 2 small children crawling around, chasing each other playfully. Rouge and Roger were so immersed in watching their happy children that they completely forgot about the manga in their hands.
Ace is the more energetic. Ha ha. Even Sabo is trying his best to stand up.
It's a competition between brothers to see who can stand first.
Don't you feel it, Roger?
Rouge smiled happily as she asked.
Wah-aha.
This won't be the first or last competition between them.
They'll compete over everything in the future.
Roger was sure of that.
Careful.
Seeing Ace about to fall on his back, Rouge instinctively wanted to rush over and catch him to prevent him from getting hurt. But at that moment, a strong hand rested on her shoulder, stopping her from moving. Roger smiled as he watched his son fall hard onto the ground. Just as the boy was about to start crying, he suddenly felt a wave of intense, overwhelming pressure emanating from his father.
Don't cry. Men don't cry.
It seemed that little Ace understood what his father was trying to tell him.
He endured the pain and didn't shed a tear.
Seeing this, Roger loosened his grip on his wife and sat back down with a satisfied smile. Although Rouge felt a pang of sympathy seeing her child endure the pain without crying, she quickly regained her composure. Roger was raising their sons. That was his role as a father.
Wahahaha. It looks like old Sengoku has finally stepped down as Fleet Admiral. I wonder who replaced him. Who else but that magma dog? Remembering how Akainu had pierced Ace's back in the manga, Roger felt a surge of anger once more. He regretted not taking the chance that day to slice him into pieces. Instead, he had only severed one arm. Chapter 878, The Fake Straw Hat Pirates.
In the East Blue, precisely on Mirrorball Island, 10-year-old Django squinted with a strange expression at a manga page. Fortunately, on this island where Django was born and raised, Rob established an art store years ago. Thanks to this, Django and all the residents of Mirrorball Island could enjoy One Piece manga and the rest of Art Store's artistic works without the hassle of traveling abroad or searching for a supplier for copies. Django was already aware of his counterpart in the manga, from the Syrup Village arc, where he first appeared as part of Kuro's pirates, to his last appearance at the Marineford War as one of the Marines. He knew he was just an ordinary character with no significant developmental potential, unlike the Straw Hat Pirates, who represented great possibilities for future growth. But, what's up with these guys? With a sarcastic laugh, Django pointed at the scene following Nami's appearance in the manga. Chapter's events. Did I just hear you right? A 55 million bounty. At that moment, Nami's attention was drawn to the loud and obnoxious voice of a man who had just shot someone. AF. The man who had been shot screamed in pain. Try reading the poster properly next time. The minimum bounty is 70 million. I ain't interested in talking to any captains with bounties lower than that. Hell, I'm amazed you even made it this far. Get out of here, trash. I'm the son of the legendary revolutionary, Dragon, you know? The man speaking, who was overweight and wearing a straw hat while holding a pistol, shamelessly claimed to be Dragon's son. Beside him, a short woman with short orange hair and a tattoo similar to Nami's on her right arm laughed. From the other side, a massive man wearing a Sogeking mask spoke, "We ain't got time for guys who are just gonna get in the way. We're the chosen pirates. You just ain't on the same level. What, you thought we'd just let any old fool join our crew? Damn it." The pirate who had been shot clutched his bloody leg, screaming in pain. Straw Hat Pirates Captain Monkey D. Luffy and his crew, Sogeking, Frankie, Nami. Man, he's harsh. That's Straw Hat Luffy. Well, what can you do? The guy's a legend. These were the reactions of the surrounding crowd. Oi, Frankie. How many have we got so far? The grand total is about 100. 3 full pirate crews joined us wholesale, and 10 of them had bounties. Django slapped his forehead in extreme embarrassment for these men. My God, their faces are tougher than steel. They truly have not a single shred of shame to claim they're the Straw Hat Pirates. That guy pretending to be Luffy is more of an eyesore than the Celestial Dragons. My God, why does he look familiar? Django's attention was drawn to the gazes of the surrounding crowd, all fixated on a certain young man. This young man was overweight, wearing a straw hat similar to Luffy's, and even dressed just like him. He seemed to be a huge fan of Luffy, wanting to be just like him. But he wasn't an exception. After all, there were millions in this world who dressed like Luffy, Zoro, or other famous manga characters. Some talented individuals even perfected their resemblance to certain anime and manga characters, widely known as cosplayers. However, it was clear that this man didn't resemble Luffy, he resembled fake Luffy. The resemblance was so uncanny that people instantly assumed he was the real one, despite appearing much younger than the fake Luffy in the manga. Demolo Black? Is that you? Django was shocked, who would have expected to meet fake Luffy just as he appeared in the manga. On the other side, the young man who was the center of all this attention was drenched in sweat. What's going on? Is that me? At this moment, Demolo Black was an 18-year-old young man who had nothing to do with his arrogant counterpart in the manga. Yet, for some reason, wearing Luffy's outfit today made him look even more like fake Luffy. He really was Demolo Black, or rather, fake Luffy. Put. Cough. Cough. What the hell? In the North Blue, on Flevance Island, upon seeing this scene, Trafalgar D. Chris choked on his popcorn. The same thing happened with his wife after all, she couldn't hold back her laughter. It had come so unexpectedly. Ha 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 ha. Is that Luffy? Why did he get so fat in just 2 years? With everything he's eaten on his journey, he should be even fatter than this. I am not surprised.
Ha ha ha. Look at fake Nami. Ha ha ha. Look at fake Frankie. Ha ha ha. Is that Sogeking? Ha ha ha. My god, I'm gonna die laughing. I wonder what fake Sanji and fake Zoro look like. Ha ha ha. I want to see them right now.
Chris and Mary were laughing hysterically.
On the soft floor, Little Law, surrounded by his toys, stared at them in amazement.
He had never seen his parents laugh like this before. After all, he was just over a year old, and One Piece had been on hiatus for an entire year.
Oh, as expected, this guy really thinks he's Luffy. He even has the audacity to ask Nami to sit next to him. Not satisfied with the fake Nami beside him, he wants the real Nami. His appetite is enormous. His audacity is even greater than that.
Chris and Mary eagerly flipped through the manga pages, never expecting this arc to be this funny.
In the East Blue, Oikot Kingdom. Lilia stared at the manga page with curiosity.
She was a stunningly beautiful woman with long orange hair.
In her lap, a 1-month-old baby girl lay peacefully. My little Nami. You're going to be so beautiful in the future. Beside Lilia, a black-haired man with an excited expression was also reading the manga with enthusiasm. Ha ha ha.
That guy pretending to be Luffy has no idea he just asked an actual Straw Hat member to sit with him. I wonder what his reaction will be when he finds out.
When will this nonsense end?
I hope the person Nami is waiting for is Sanji. I'm sure he'll take care of all these fools in one go.
Lilia was frustrated.
Not only because these idiots were pretending to be the Straw Hat Pirates but also because the fat scoundrel posing as Luffy had the nerve to demand that Nami serve him.
Wasn't that too much?
She still remembered the day Ra brought her fiancé back after rescuing him from a deadly sea storm. He had told them they were Nami's parents and that it was time for her to enter the world, just like Nojiko had already appeared in their neighbor's home. That day was the happiest day of her life. Then came another joyful day when she became pregnant with Nami, and just a month ago, she gave birth to her. Now, whenever she thought about it, it all seemed like a dream, especially when Belmere came to celebrate Nami's birth with them.
My daughter. You are so lucky in this life.
You have 2 mothers, but unfortunately, you may never have an adventure like this in the future. Lilia gazed sadly at the manga page, where Nami still maintained a relaxed expression in the villain-filled bar.
Chapter 879, The Appearance of Usopp.
The Holy Land of Maragoa, Domain of the Gods. Inside the art store, in a dimly lit corner adorned with one-piece murals, the Holy Knights, led by Figure Len Garling, were gathered, enjoying wine, luxurious meals, and the latest volume of One Piece. At that moment, Shamrock's eyes gleamed sharply as he observed the actions of the fat pirate claiming to be Luffy.
That ugly bastard wants Nami to surrender herself to him? How shameless!
Shamrock was deeply fond of Nami's character in the manga, and his admiration for her had only grown stronger after witnessing her post-time-skip transformation.
Of course, Shamrock was just one among millions of Nami fans across the world, and he was also merely one of many celestial dragons.
This was evident from the heated and foolish expressions of many celestial dragons nearby, as well as their furious reactions. The insults, curses, and orders to execute the fake Luffy from the celestial dragons who adored Nami were overwhelming.
However, Shamrock maintained his noble demeanor and composed facade.
After all, he was not just any celestial dragon, he was a high-ranking holy knight, a noble with a bright future. Acting like an enraged fool wouldn't lower his standards, it would only make him a laughingstock among the other holy knights. More than that, it would disappoint his father. That didn't mean he didn't want to crush and tear apart the fake Luffy. But after a while, it seemed he could no longer keep up his calm exterior. The moment Usopp appeared and received a warm embrace from Nami, his throat went dry along with every other celestial dragon present in the art store.
Even Saint Garling was taken aback.
After all, Usopp's head was buried in Nami's chest. Without a doubt, if Sanji saw this scene, he'd kill Usopp. One of the holy knights muttered in mild shock.
Usopp is one lucky bastard. Another knight commented. Chapter's events. I'll tell you one more time.
You're not my type, so I'm not interested.
Do you understand now? Mr. Straw Hat. What was it again?
After being called over by the fake Luffy, Nami flatly rejected him, even mocking him.
Stop. What are you?
The bartender tried to stop her, but he swallowed his words upon seeing the straw hat rise from his seat.
Crap. This is not good. The name's Straw Hat Luffy, got that?
At that moment, the fake Nami pulled a gun and pressed it against Nami's head, threatening her.
How about we give you two choices, then, HM? Either you accept Captain Luffy's invitation, or you die. And just so you know, I'm a bounty head myself. The name's Cat Burglar Nami. So show some respect. At that moment, a voice rang out, Hisatsu Midoraiboshi. Devil. A demonic plant appeared out of nowhere and devoured the fake Nami. Arf. What on earth? Qua. What is this thing? Some kind of plant? The fake Luffy was horrified by the scene. Captain. Help me. Stay away from me.
As the fake Luffy and Nami screamed in the background, Usopp casually sat beside Nami and said,
So, miss, what do you say to a drink with me? Ah. Usopp, it's been forever. Just look at you. You actually look a bit more manly.
Nami enthusiastically hugged Usopp. After all, she hadn't seen him in so long.
MMPH. Usopp nearly suffocated, his face was completely buried in Nami's chest. Why?
Yeah, I'd say you've grown somewhat yourself, he said.
The hell? Is this puny thing the man you were waiting for?
The fake Frankie questioned right before being crushed by a raging plant.
Snow fell relentlessly on the frozen Drum Kingdom.
But unlike the cold outside, the art store was filled with a warmth that the people of Drum could no longer live without. In this cozy and harmonious atmosphere, the readers felt a mix of emotions, complexity and joy as they watched the long-awaited reunion of two Straw Hats after 2 years of separation. At that moment, Dr. Hirulek adjusted his glasses and smiled. That wild plant, looks like Usopp picked up some decent skills. The weapon's name is Pop Green.
A good name.
Fufu looked at his muscular build. It seems he lost all that extra weight and gained some solid muscles. Looks like he regained his resolve after hearing news about Luffy 2 years ago. Koreha also commented with a smile, she was still as beautiful as ever.
Ha 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 ha. Look at Usopp's reaction to seeing Sogeking. He even forgot that Sogeking is himself. Ha ha ha. He actually thought that guy was Luffy.
Koreha rested her hand on her cheek as she turned the pages, still smiling.
She didn't even pay the bartender. Nami's habits haven't changed. Is that a lightning strike? Ooh.
What a powerful display of strength. Hirulek continued pouring himself a drink as he read the scene of Nami and Usopp leaving the bar after electrocuting their pursuers. Unlike the cold and cloudy weather in Drum, the sun was shining, and the skies were clear in Syrup Village. This was the place where the Straw Hat Pirates were meant to receive their first ship, the Going Merry. The ship had already been designed and built in Kaya's family's backyard years ago. The Going Merry was a symbol of pride for Kaya's family, and they wished to hand it over to Luffy and his friends in the future, should they ever wish to recreate their journey.
The crew is reuniting again. That truly warms my heart. I share the same sentiment, my dear. Kaya's parents were enjoying the manga together at that moment.
Not far from Kaya's mansion, inside the art store in the center of town, Yasopp and his wife, Banshina, were reading the manga with shocked expressions on their faces.
Oh my god. He actually did it.
Banshina covered her mouth, trying to hold back tears, barely succeeding.
That brat actually got rid of all that fat. As expected of my son. Yasopp shamelessly boasted.
I remember you completely dismissed the idea of him regaining his physique back then, Yasopp. At that moment, Beckman's voice came from behind.
Hearing that, Yasopp's face twisted in frustration. When did I ever say that? He Becksan doesn't lie. I clearly remember you weren't confident that our son could do it, right? Benshina grinned, as if saying, well? What do you have to say now? Yasop swallowed nervously and explained. I just didn't expect him to get such a fit and toned body. But I was always sure he'd succeed in restoring his old self. After all, he's my son. Wahahaha. He even exceeded my expectations. Hearing that, Benshina decided to stop cornering her husband. She gently placed her hand on her stomach, as if comforting a child within. Her expression was that of an excited mother, eager to share this moment with her child. Chapter 880, One After Another. Chapters Events. Grove 13, Shaggy's Ripoff Bar. That idiot swordsman was the first one here? Well, damn. There really must be some stormy seas ahead. When Sanji learned that Zoro was the first to arrive, he couldn't process it. He was utterly shocked. And the second to arrive was Frankie-chan. He showed up 10 days ago and headed straight to the ship, Shaggy continued. So the Sunny's all right. Well, that's good to hear. Sanji relaxed after hearing that. But of course. There's not a scratch on it, and I've got the coating all finished up. It looks like he did an excellent job taking care of it. This time, the speaker was Rayleigh. I may have suffered battle wounds, but I have no regrets. Duval was completely covered in bandages as a result of protecting the ship. Yes. 1 year to recovery. Duval's followers cheered. You have a stronger sense of loyalty than I thought. We're in your debt, Duval. Sanji thanked him, surprised by the man's loyalty. Handsome, you say? Ahahaha. I was merely returning the favor, young master. Oh yes, I struggled through storms and gales and battled the many dastardly pirates who wanted the ship for themselves. Day after terrible day. Onward I fought, swathed in wounds. It truly seemed like Duval had suffered a lot to protect the Sunny-go. And the third to arrive was Nami-chan, Shaggy added. Nami Saan. Where? Where is she? The moment Sanji heard about Nami, he completely forgot Duval's existence. She said she was going shopping in town since there was nothing to do here, said Shaggy. East Blue, Shimatsuki Town. Who did she say arrived first? No way, did I mishear? Zoro? No, something must be wrong. There's no way Shaggy would make a mistake. Zoro really must have arrived first. Ha ha ha. This is interesting. How did he do it? Who knows? Maybe, just as Sanji said, there really must be some stormy seas ahead. Did he take a wrong turn and accidentally find the shortest route to the Sabaody archipelago? Enough joking, guys. Obviously, Perona brought him to his destination. We all know it's impossible for Zoro to reach his destination on his own, he'd die at sea before he ever got there. Shaggy personally confirmed that Zoro was the first crew member to reach Shaggy's ripoff bar, which caused a huge stir among the readers. This uproar didn't go unnoticed by Roronoa Erasure, who was reading the manga with a strange expression. He, too, was surprised by his son's ability to arrive first. Fufu looks like my dear Zoro found his way faster than the others this time, Tara laughed cheerfully. She was Zoro's mother. At that moment, she was holding a 1-year-old baby in her arms, little Zoro. Arashi's complicated gaze fell on the infant Zoro. Who would have thought that, in the future, he'd be this bad at sensing direction? As his parents, we should fix this issue so he doesn't suffer from it later on. Right, dear? I don't care if he's bad at directions, I'll love my son with all his flaws. But as his parents, we'll certainly make sure to raise him well, Tara smiled in response. Watching this heartwarming family scene, Shimatsuki Furiko smiled gently and continued reading the manga with great focus. It seemed the story was about to take a drastic turn starting from this arc. That was Furiko's feeling. Her older brother, Shimatsuki Ashimaru, was nowhere to be seen. He had already returned to Ueno with Shimatsuki Yasui after failing to convince Shimatsuki Kozaburo and his family to return to Ueno. That Sanji is so annoying. I don't like him. Humph. Zoro is way better. Still inside the art store, a 3-year-old girl pouted with a childish expression. Isn't that just because Zoro is connected to your future counterpart in the manga? Suna smiled as she said that. Sigh, he hasn't even appeared yet, and he's already causing such an uproar, Kushiru muttered, referring to Zoro. TSK, he threw away his pride as a proud swordsman to ask for directions from his greatest enemy. How disgraceful, how shameful. I'm starting to doubt his ability to take Mihawk's throne as the greatest swordsman, the old man Kozaburo scoffed. Why do you say that, Grandpa? Zoro isn't weak. Kuina protested. Oh? Since my sweet granddaughter believes he isn't weak, then your grandpa will believe in him too. Kozaburo's annoyed expression instantly shifted into a delighted one upon hearing his granddaughter's words. The parents could only shake their heads in silent understanding. They were used to this. Kozaburo's ultimate weakness was his precious granddaughter. Far away in the South Blue, aboard the Oro Jackson. The atmosphere was just as exciting. Zoro arrived first, is this a joke? Frankie being second makes sense. Nami being third is also believable. Usopp fourth. Well, that was revealed just a moment ago. With Chopper arriving fifth, he's a little late. Sanji is sixth. Looks like he suffered a lot with Ivankov and his gang. That only leaves Luffy and Robin. Brook is already on the island, he has a concert to perform, right? Roger's pirates were eager to see the crew reunite and embark on their next adventure. After everything that had happened 2 years ago, Roger's pirates deeply sympathized with the Straw Hats, who had been pushed to the brink time and time again. But it seems those 2 years of training made them much sharper than before, especially Luffy, Rayleigh commented with a smile. I have high expectations for Zoro and Sanji too, Gabun grinned, adjusting his glasses. However, after seeing the scene where Sanji suffered a massive nosebleed just from imagining what Nami looked like after 2 years, Gabun immediately took back his words. No, this guy's a lost cause. Spending 2 years on an Okama island might have done him more harm than good. Ha ha ha. If he gets too much stimulation from beautiful women, he might just die on the spot. Shanks laughed. Ha ha. Look, even my counterpart is thinking the same thing, Rayleigh chuckled as he saw his counterpart ask Sanji if he was okay. Ohara. Look who finally arrived at the Sabaody archipelago. The most beautiful woman in the world. A wide smile spread across Olivia's face as she saw Robin's post-time skip appearance. After 2 years, Robin had an even more mature and captivating presence, exuding confidence and calm. She retained her slender yet beautiful figure, but what shocked not only Olivia but every reader was her radiantly fair skin. Her long black hair was now even silkier, cascading freely down her back, with soft strands framing her face, adding to her air of mystery and charm. The summer sunglasses perched on her head added another layer of allure. After focusing for a while on Robin's physical changes, Olivia shifted her attention to her outfit. Robin wore a short-sleeved, open-chested purple blouse paired with a long orange skirt adorned with floral patterns, giving her a stunning look capable of sending Sanji straight into a coma. Sigh, I feel bad for Sanji. In this life, he's Robin's brother, Gloriosa chuckled. Not far from the store goddesses gathering, the children, now a year older, were also reading the manga with excitement. Oh, you finally appeared, Robin. Yamato cheered, shaking Robin's shoulders. Hee, my counterpart isn't lucky. Looks like she'll be kidnapped by CP again right after showing up, Robin sighed. Huh? Yeah. How did Cypher Pole find Robin so fast? She looks so different from 2 years ago, even Hancock was curious. Maybe they saw the fake Robin? Robin thought about it and found it quite possible. Oh, that's likely. Since those people had the audacity to impersonate the Straw Hats, they should bear the risks too, Yamato commented enthusiastically. That wraps up this part of What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series.
where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.